Good evening. Welcome to 2 a.m. with Jason. I hope you're doing well. We're taking a look at Micah chapter 7, the middle passage here. And the verse I want to look at is verse 9. It says, "Because I've sinned against him, I will bear the Lord's wrath. Until he pleads my case and upholds my cause, he will bring me out into the light. I will see his righteousness." I think it's really interesting that as we look at that, um, it is God's righteousness. It's not ours that is worth anything. It reminded me of Romans 3, where it says in verse 9, "What shall we conclude then? Do we have any advantage? Not at all. For we've already made the charge that Jews and Gentiles alike are all under the power of sin. As it is written, there is no one righteous, not even one. There's no one who understands, no one who seeks God. All have turned away. They have together become worthless. There is no one who does good, not even one. Their throats are open graves. Their tongues practice deceit. The poison of vipers is on their lips. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are quick to shed blood. Ruin and misery mark their way. The way of peace they do not know. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Now we know that whatever the law says, it says to those who are under the law, so that every mouth may be silenced, and the whole world be held accountable to God. Therefore, no one will be declared righteous in God's sight by the works of the law. Rather, through the law, we become conscious of our sin." And I think it's interesting. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that were there talking about the ways that we sin and the ways that we are led astray. Hopefully, a lot of them didn't apply to you. Um, but it started off there with, we are all sinners. We're all in need of God's grace, and it's so important for us to be aware that, like, we have problems, and this idea of God bringing the things to light is important. In John 3:20, it says, "Everyone who does what is evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear their deeds will be exposed." Um, we work really hard to make sure people don't know of our mistakes, and and sometimes our sin is revealed. Two stories in the news just this past week. One, there was a reporter who thought the Zoom was off, but it was not off, and was doing some things that definitely should not be done on Zoom. And he's been, reprimanded now, and probably will lose his job. As another even worse situation, where there was a little 7-year-old first grader doing a Zoom class, and an 18-year-old perpetrator came in, her cousin, and did something very inappropriate to her. And again, they didn't think that what they were doing was going to be exposed, and yet the teacher and other students, unfortunately, saw what had happened, and it was brought into the light, and now he's in jail. Um, and so you think about this and think, man, like, no one likes to be caught. One of the things that Mom said growing up was, I hope that my children are caught, and they're caught early. They're caught while they're young, and so that way they can hopefully steer away from from sinning later in life. Um, but it's a tricky thing. There's a story about the NCAA had a race, and in the race, it was out in California. There was 128 runners, and there was a turn that a lot of them, I don't know if it was a mismarked or something, but a turn where one guy realized which way he should run, started running that way. It was only able to convince 4 other people to run the correct way as well. Everyone else kept going the wrong way, and so only 5 people finished the race, which is crazy. but it happens when we're not paying attention, and it makes me think about how many times we have, or I have done things that I should not have done, and I should have realized, like, man, like, he goes, I tried to wave on other runners to say this is the way to go, and yet people were convinced in their own minds that this is what they should be doing, even though it wasn't right. May that be a challenge for us. I guess one of 3 challenges. The first one is, if we see someone running the wrong way, to encourage them to come back to the right way. The second thing is to realize that, it is not our righteousness that can get us anywhere. It's only Christ's, only God. That's what it said in Micah. We're waiting for God to plead our case. It's His righteousness, because we have none of our own. And the third thing is, we need to be able to say, if we have sinned, that's brought into the light, to be able to say, man, I'm sorry, God. Please forgive me, and please show the mercy and grace that I need for the situation at hand. Praise God that He hears and He wants to help, and He loves us more than we can imagine. So, anyway, just a thought for tonight, and hope to see you guys tomorrow.